Through a blend of personal experiences and deep wisdom, the book poses bold questions. How can you move lightly despite the weight of your burdens? How can you deal more easily with your worst fears? How can you laugh even while shedding tears? The author focuses on clearer thinking, benefiting from scientific enlightenment, and breaking free from the vicious cycle. The book teaches you how to focus on fewer things and transforms your suffering into energy and your pain into a tool in your hands. With bright slogans about positivity and high aspirations, Mark Manson presents the subtle art of not giving an FCK asterisk, turning these expectations upside down. He leads us to think with boldness. What if true happiness lies in the candid acceptance of our limits and contradictions? What if the path to a calmer, clearer life is about determining what deserves our attention and ignoring the rest? Manson offers his perspective through sharp, realistic philosophy, far from false promises of radical change or permanent happiness. He calls us to acknowledge our fragility and search for a deeper meaning beyond the constant drain in the race for perfection. The subtle art of not giving an FCK asterisk reminds us that happiness doesn't mean eliminating problems, but choosing the better problems worth the effort, and believing that life is not a battleground for perfection, but a field for experience and accepting negative emotions as they are in a world that overwhelms us with excessive positivity and relentless advice that everything is possible. Mark Manson presents a shout that goes against the current, a call to lighten the burden of the concerns we drag with us wherever we go. The subtle art of not giving an FCK asterisk is not just a conventional self-development guide. It's more like a quiet journey deep into the self. In this journey, Manson guides us to set aside idealistic aspirations and sincerely accept our reality, with all its flaws and shortcomings. Why do we drown in an endless pursuit of more? And why do we allow ourselves to be led by success slogans without awareness? The book invites us to reconsider, even for just once, our internal standards. To look at things as they are without pretense or attempt at beautification, and choose to care about what truly gives us value, rather than what others cheer for. Manson addresses all of this with a heavy dose of realism, challenging our daily assumptions and shining a light on aspects we might avoid confronting. In this summary of the subtle art of not giving an FCK asterisk, I will attempt to navigate its pages, extracting insights and ideas, and present them to you, dear reader, so stay with me. Here is a comprehensive summary of the subtle art of not giving an FCK asterisk, exploring the details and ideas within this book. Chapter 1. Don't try. In this chapter, Mark Manson begins with an unexpected example of a despairing writer who spent his years in a miserable life. However, his fortune changed after turning 50, and he became a prominent author with captivating literary works. Manson invites us to reflect on the concept of trying, not from traditional encouragement perspective, but from a more realistic and profound angle. He explains that trying isn't about relentless striving, but rather about accepting our mistakes and failures with honesty and transparency. Manson blends the concepts of success and self-development, clarifying that they are not two sides of the same coin. Instead, they are separate journeys that intersect at self-honesty, which frees us from illusions. Honesty may be the key, as there is no real success without looking at ourselves honestly and acknowledging all our flaws and weaknesses. Manson places us in front of the hell loop, or what can be described as a self-blaming soul, a vicious cycle that the self falls into when it becomes a victim of consumer society's standards and the temptations of fake media. In a world that measures your worth by your material success or social acceptance, you might find yourself trapped in a never-ending cycle, always stressed, as if you're chasing an endless mirage. The author offers us a simple yet powerful piece of advice. Take a dose of the magic indifference powder. He explains it by saying, what exceeds its limit turns into its opposite, calling for a reduction in the overwhelming focus on things that drain us uselessly. Try repeating to yourself, I feel bad, okay, but what's the big deal? And when you learn to distance yourself from the spiral of harsh self-criticism, you will gradually stop beating yourself up. The book gives the example of a famous author who lived a miserable and hopeless life, only to turn around after he turned 50 and became a successful, renowned writer with many books and poems. Through this example, the author emphasizes the importance of trying and not giving up. Otherwise, a person will fall prey to delusion and degeneration. Despite the obstacles, A person must face them and take one step after another until they find a glimmer of light to rush toward, opening the path to the light before the glimmer disappears. When narrating the story of Ryder Bukowski, he clarified that success and self-development are intertwined, but they are not the same thing. Instead, being honest with oneself could be one of the reasons for success. He explained through many examples that focusing on truth is the most important thing. He discussed the hell loop, or the blaming self, which falls prey to advertising companies selling products that convince you they are necessary, or even the fake social media platforms that quietly pull you into the hell loop. The chapter concludes with advice. Take a dose of the magic indifference powder. With the principle, what exceeds its limit turns into its opposite. Now is the time to slow down the effect of the repetitive hell loop. Repeat to yourself, I feel bad. Okay, what does it matter? You'll find yourself stopping the self-hatred. Manson focuses on 3 key points. 1. Not caring excessively doesn't mean not caring at all. It means caring in a way that brings you peace. 2. To stop being overwhelmed by difficulties, you must first care about something more important than them. 3. Whether you realize it or not, you're always choosing what to care about. Chapter 2. Happiness is a problem. In this chapter, the author highlights an interesting mythical story, the essence of which is that anxiety and dissatisfaction are inherent parts of human nature, and they are necessary components for creating stable happiness. The author provides another example in this chapter, which he calls the unfortunate panda, in an engaging and captivating narrative. At the end of this story, an important meaning is derived. Suffering is beneficial for survival, for without suffering and the absence of constant satisfaction, the pursuit of survival wouldn't exist. The author reveals what the legendary character, the unfortunate panda, secretly whispered. Life, in essence, is an endless series of problems, and solving those problems is merely the beginning of the next problem. The author delves into various philosophical ideas in this chapter, all of which contribute to answering the question, who are you, and what you are willing to struggle for. There is no victory without hardship. It is one of the simplest and most fundamental components of life. Our struggles define our successes, and our problems give birth to our happiness. Alongside that, they also give rise to better, slightly improved problems. It is a never-ending upward spiral. And if at any point on this spiral you think you can stop climbing, I fear you have not understood anything. I say this because true pleasure lies in climb itself. Chapter 3. You are not a special person. As usual, the author provides an example to clarify his point to the reader in an enjoyable and engaging manner. He compares the imaginary character Jimmy to people in real life who often have a positive view of themselves to the point that they deceive themselves and make themselves believe that they are achieving great things, even when they achieve nothing. They turn themselves into a joke for others, while believing they are performing brilliantly. The author states the philosophical truth that people who truly believe they have great value are those capable of looking at the negative aspects of their personality with a positive perspective. He recounts his personal life, filled with challenges and obstacles that affected his mental state, drawing a philosophical connection between these events and the value of feeling entitled. The author concludes that modern technology allows our sense of insecurity or lack of security to increase at an unprecedented rate. The more freedom we have to express ourselves, the more we desire to be liberated from a need to deal with any person who might disagree with us or cause us any discomfort. However, if I am not special or exceptional, then what is the purpose? The fact that this idea contains a self-contradiction that is clear enough to destroy it. If everyone is exceptional, then no one is exceptional by definition. Chapter 4. The Value of Suffering. As is customary for Mark Manson in his previous chapters, he shares a captivating and engaging story, either real or mythical, from which he extracts a deep philosophical meaning that resonates with both the mind and heart with complete conviction. In this chapter, he narrates the story of the famous Lieutenant Hiro Onoda and Suzuki, who found him deep in the jungle. From this gripping tale, Manson draws an important lesson. If suffering is inevitable and if problems in life are unavoidable, the question you should ask yourself is not, how do I stop the suffering? But why am I suffering and for what purpose? Your ability to accept your suffering or find a solution that relieves it depends on this answer. The self-awareness onion. Manson uses a metaphor of an onion to describe self-awareness. With its layers, The first layer. This is the basic, initial understanding of one's feelings and emotions. Unfortunately, many people fail in this area and cannot identify their emotional blind spots. The second layer. This helps us understand the why behind our feelings, exploring the root cause of the emotions that overwhelm us. Once we understand the origin, we can do something about changing it. The third layer. This is the most difficult level. It requires continuous questioning and effort, but it is the most important. It defines the nature of our problems, and thus the quality of our life. Key points in the summary of the subtle art of not giving an FCK asterisk. There are a number of common values that create truly difficult problems for us. They create problems that are almost impossible to solve. The author highlights several important values. 1. Pleasure is great, but it is a very poor value when you make it the top priority in your life. 2. Material success. If it is seen as a source of happiness, a person will quickly approach zero. The danger lies in overvaluing material success and placing above other, more important values in life. 3. Being right all the time. This is the pinnacle of danger. It is better to assume that you are ignorant and in a constant state of learning and growth. This liberates you from any fictional beliefs that are not based on sufficient information. 4. Being overly positive. This is a potential danger because it can be a form of avoidance or escape. It is not a valid solution to life's problems. The best approach is to express negative emotions in a healthy way, either by articulating them in an acceptable manner or in a way consistent with your values. At the end of the chapter, Manson summarizes his thoughts on good and bad values and how to develop oneself by saying, put better values first and choose better things to give your attention to. This is because your problems will be better when you focus your attention on better things. And when your problems are better, your life will be better too.